Hey folks, here's another how do I do it type of video. And I just want to give a shout out to my buddy Steve, who is the latest person to ask me to discuss this part of how I do my game recordings. What we're going to do today is discuss the in the net camera box mount. This mount has served me really well. This is actually, I think, technically version 2. I had an earlier version, very much exactly the same, different materials though. You'll see here the angle that it's mounted at, and that's because it goes way to the back of the net, all the way up against the back pipe of the net. And this should, in most regards, give me to the top or just above the red bar of the net. This one has held up really well. It's looking a little beat, but I figured to show you the best way of doing this, I'll make one almost exactly the same. One important part for me is weight. So when I step out on the ice, I have my glove on and I have my water bottle like in the pocket, and then I have to find a place to put this, and oftentimes another suction cup mount as well with a camera. So it's a lot of weight to be carrying out there. Let's talk about the box. The primary parts of the build are going to be foam, and I use like this MDF type board. I had a scrap of it here a long time ago, and so I decided that's what I would use. And the reason for that is I need the thickness, but I don't need the weight of it being a solid block of wood. So it's a sandwich like that. Not difficult to make. My pieces here are roughly 5 5/8 by 3 5/8. I've already done all the math on the foot pad that goes on and done all my subtractions, and I've made my box to center the foot pad. I've marked my center, which is how we're also going to additionally mount it. The other pieces involved are all either GoPro or like aftermarket GoPro parts. First and foremost, I get asked all the time, why don't I use one of these? Well, I used to. And then one time a puck hit one of these. And this stuff is crystal clear acrylic, and it is made for waterproof. It is not made for explosion proof. And what happened is it shattered into a million pieces, and there were slivers of crystal clear, razor sharp acrylic on the ice. When they're cold, they're even more fragile. So don't use those on the ice. That's my 2 cents. What you do want is one of these open clips. So I have a camera here, and you just slide it in and it clips in. Now there's 2 things about this. I used to use aftermarket GoPros, and I had a bunch of them, and every single one of them came with bags upon bags of this accessory stuff. So I have tons of this stuff. Look on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, whatever, you'll find this stuff. Or if you just want to go buy your specific parts, I usually, like Best Buy, I think carries it. Amazon carries individual things as well. Now, lately, I've switched back to using older GoPros. These are GoPro Hero 4 Silver, I believe they're called. This one here is the one I use in my net. I made a little template of white adhesive vinyl and put that on there. It just helps hide the blend of the black camera from being in the back of my net, and a referee, seeing that out of the peripheral vision and blowing a whistle. These GoPros are a little thinner, little lower profile than my aftermarket cameras, and that's actually a good thing. So when they go into this backpack carrier, they're actually a little bit sloppy. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more as we progress, but that's a feature that I like. These are little like adhesive buckle clip mounts. And then you have all kinds of different varieties of these guys. Here's another one here. The low profile is the better one, in my opinion, from my use. And they just slide in and snap into this little mounting pad. This is like 1/4-inch camera mount adapter thread with a tightening screw here for space tightening with the 2 feet. And on the buckle one, you have the 3 feet hole, and this just slides inside of there. And then you need the connector. And these parts all come kind of like together. Like you can buy this kind of a setup, I think, in a package if that's all you want to buy. So that guy goes on in there like that, and you can adjust your angle and you snug it up tight. The little acorn nut there is holding it good and tight. This little doohickey screws onto the bottom of your backpack mount, and you want to get it as square as you can. So I'm going to use the adjuster nut so that your camera mount goes straight. We need a little bit of JB Weld. I'm hoping that I can get just enough out of these 2 because they're almost empty. So we come back to here, and again, we're going to sandwich this design just like that, because again, we don't need all that extra weight of a like 2x4 or whatever. I've already marked out my spots here, and we know that this guy's going to go here. Now, these usually come with a adhesive pad, like a foam adhesive pad on them. I peel that off. I don't need that or want that. That'll just interfere with the JB weld that I'm going to use there. I've also gone ahead and marked my dead center because there is a hole here, and we're just going to use one little screw. It's only going to be there really to help that JB weld set in. You just need to make sure that it goes lower than these little notches. It needs to be rather flush to here because when this thing slides on, there is a slight groove inside of here that you don't want to interfere with as it slides on. So you may have to round that hole out. You may have to bevel it, whatever. I just happen to find a tiny little screw here. So our first step is we want to drill a pilot hole dead center in there. Then we want to try to mix up a little bit of 2-part epoxy. And again, I'm hoping I can get just enough out of here. If I'm going to get any out of here. Ooh, I am. 2 rather even-sized blobs. Ooh, we want to spread. We want to make sure we get the high spots where it's actually going to touch the wood, and a little around the perimeter for sure too. Try to stay away from the screw hole a little bit just so it doesn't interfere with the screw we put in. But get around that perimeter. It doesn't have to look super pretty when it's all done. This is 5-minute epoxy, so I have a little bit of time, but not a lot of time. Get it pretty well centered. This is MDF. I don't want to go too crazy with the tightening. There. I'm not getting any wobble. That looks pretty good and square. Beautiful. So that needs, 5 to 10 minutes to cure enough that it stays stuck down. All right, so for assembling this thing, there's a couple options. I believe on this one I used a 3M like adhesive spray on where you spray both sides, let it sit for a while, all that. For this one, I'm going to use super glue. You need it glued together, obviously, but you don't need to go crazy with gluing it on as far as like the type of glue. Super glue probably wouldn't last a very, very, very long time. By itself, it wouldn't last. Just like that. And now I'm going to use some activator and spray the backside of my foam. Hope that I line it up just right. Press and hold for a little bit. Doesn't matter if your foam is inside the edge a little bit or not. It does somewhat matter here. You can, I'll probably shave that off once I'm done here. Now we're going to do this one. Spray this. And line it up and set it down. Give a little press. And there we go. That's the basis of the box right there. So my next step is I wrap the heck out of it in white tape. Now, usually I have the bigger, the 1-inch or 1.5 or whatever it is tape, and I couldn't find any. So we're going to do it in regular tape. This is why I was saying the glue part is less important, because we're taping the heck out of this thing. And we want to use white tape, once again, to eliminate the idea of having something large black in the net, at the back of the net, and a ref seeing that and mistakenly blowing a whistle. And we want to go around this way too. So there we go, rather lightweight box. You can also wax the bottom of it with, stick wax, and that'll help it not stick because it won't absorb the water as easily. I've done that many times in the past. That's why that tape looks so disgusting. I've mounted my backpack clip to the adjustable mount here, and then to the clip. I've adjusted it to match pretty close to the angle I'm using right now. So I'm going to snug that up fairly snug, and then we just slide this thing in there. The couple things I mentioned about I like the loose fit of the camera, and that's for a couple of reasons. It's impact. So if everything in here is stiff and tight and locked in and glued together and all that, impacts when it does hit and knock my camera over, those are all then breaking points. Whereas right now, if there's enough impact, it'll actually just adjust your angle on you. That's why you don't want to glue this all together like that. The loose camera gives it some flex inside of here, some slop. So remember, it's stationary. You don't care about the slop. You're not driving on an off-road truck or something. So that little bit of slop gives some play to the camera for, shock absorption and displacement. The another thing that's been good is that over time, this will loosen up on you, this clip. That's a good thing. I've had so many good impacts, I call them, where this has popped out like that as well. So it's one more give point. There is a little bit of wiggle to it. The fact it can, with enough impact, it can, the right impact, it can spin loose. All of that stuff is good because, again, if this was all rock solid, that's just a breaking point. One thing to keep in mind, if a puck goes in and you see it, this is in the back. So if a puck goes in and around and hits it, it'll slide it or spin it or whatever. Just use your stick when you reset and put it back where it belongs. You may or may not be able to adjust your angle very well. Depends on the stoppage of play, but you can do that. I did it at one point, at least in that game with that box, where I waited till we scored a goal, and so that's all the way down the other end. Everybody's got to skate back to the bench to make a change and then line up, and they got to tell the scorekeeper. I knew I had a few seconds. I took my glove off. I got down in the net. I adjusted the angle, set it back, and kept on going. I knew I had an extra 10 seconds, 15 seconds, or whatever it took. That's the box. Hopefully you find this video helpful. Hopefully that answers the question. And now I have a video I can point people to when they ask me that on a regular basis. And I'll put a link to my whole DIY playlist down below and up in the corner. If you got any questions about this, let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching.